For years, the story unfolded in fragments. Court filings, sealed exhibits, quiet settlements, delayed investigations, and names that appeared only briefly before disappearing again. At the center of it all stood a figure whose wealth and access seemed limitless, and whose social orbit reached into places rarely exposed to public view. According to records, what became known as the Epstein files did not simply document crimes or allegations. They documented absences, missing accountability, missing transparency, missing answers, and above all, missing names. From the beginning, reports suggest that the case followed an unusual path. Complaints surfaced early. Testimonies accumulated quietly. Law enforcement agencies were alerted. Yet progress slowed. Investigations paused. Agreements were reached behind closed doors. According to court documents, the focus repeatedly narrowed to a single individual, even as evidence hinted at a broader network. The question that lingered was not only what happened, but who else was there, and why their identities remained shielded. The files themselves grew over time, expanding through civil lawsuits, depositions, and unsealed exhibits. Each release generated headlines, but also confusion. Lists appeared without context. Names were referenced without charges. Associations were implied without conclusions. According to legal analysts, this ambiguity was not accidental. It was the result of a system designed to move carefully, slowly, and often silently when powerful interests intersected. Records indicate that Epstein's financial rise preceded his notoriety by decades. His ability to move within elite circles was not incidental. It was cultivated. Private jets, exclusive properties, philanthropic donations, and personal introductions created a web of access that blurred professional boundaries. According to reports, this access extended across industries, governments, and continents. Yet when scrutiny intensified, that same network appeared to dissolve, leaving behind only partial traces. Court filings show that many individuals were referenced indirectly. Some were described as guests, others as associates. Others appeared only through initials or redacted passages. According to legal experts, redaction serves a purpose, particularly when protecting privacy or preventing defamation. But the scale of redaction in these files raised questions. Why were so many names withheld even after settlements were reached? Why did certain documents remain sealed for years? Documents indicate that non-disclosure agreements played a central role. Victims who sought compensation often did so under conditions of silence. According to records, settlements included clauses restricting public discussion, limiting testimony, and sealing evidence. These agreements, while legal, effectively removed critical information from public view. Over time, the accumulation of silence became as significant as the allegations themselves. As the narrative widened, journalists began tracing patterns rather than names. Travel logs, financial transfers, property records, and calendars offered glimpses into movement and proximity. According to reports, certain names appeared repeatedly in secondary documents, though never as defendants. The absence of formal charges did not equate to innocence or guilt. It equated to unresolved questions. Official findings concluded suicide, but questions persisted. Regardless of interpretation, the legal consequence was clear. A criminal trial would not proceed. Evidence would not be tested in open court. Names would not be examined under oath. According to legal scholars, the collapse of a central defendant often leads to institutional retreat, not renewed inquiry. Civil cases continued. Plaintiffs sought damages. Documents were unsealed gradually. Each release generated renewed attention, followed by renewed disappointment. Names appeared, but without adjudication. Associations were revealed, but without findings. According to court statements, inclusion in a document did not imply wrongdoing. Yet, for the public, the repetition of certain names without resolution deepened suspicion. The phrase, "the names that never faced daylight," came to symbolize this tension. It did not refer solely to individuals listed in documents. It referred to a process that stopped short of exposure. According to investigative journalists, the case illustrated how power can shape legal outcomes without overt interference. Silence, delay, and complexity functioned as tools. International dimensions further complicated the story. Properties existed across borders. Flights crossed jurisdictions. Allegations spanned countries with different legal standards. According to records, coordination between agencies was limited. Extradition was rarely pursued. Evidence gathered in one country often remained unusable in another. This fragmentation benefited no one seeking clarity. Financial secrecy also played a role. Offshore accounts, shell companies, and trusts obscured transactions. According to financial analysts, such structures are legal, but often exploited to conceal relationships. Following the money revealed pathways that did not align with public narratives. Yet tracing these flows required resources rarely committed after the primary defendant's death. Media coverage oscillated between exposure and restraint. Some outlets published aggressively, others hesitated. According to editors interviewed later, legal risk influenced decisions. Defamation laws, especially in the absence of convictions, imposed caution. As a result, stories were framed narrowly, focusing on confirmed facts while avoiding broader implications. Victims remained central, yet marginalized. Their testimonies described patterns, not isolated incidents. According to sworn statements, encounters involved logistics, coordination, and repetition. These accounts suggested infrastructure rather than spontaneity. Yet infrastructure implies participants, and participants imply accountability. That connection was rarely pursued publicly. Government responses offered little reassurance. Reviews were announced. Internal investigations were promised. According to subsequent reports, many concluded without public findings. Transparency was cited as incompatible with privacy or ongoing legal considerations, even when no proceedings remained active. The result was institutional opacity. As years passed, the files became symbols rather than sources. Each unsealing reignited attention, then faded. The narrative fragmented across social media, speculation filling gaps left by silence. According to scholars, this environment fosters misinformation, further complicating legitimate inquiry. Absence of official clarity creates space for extremes. Yet within the documents, patterns persisted. Repeated references to scheduling, recruitment, and travel suggested organization. According to analysts, organization implies facilitation. Facilitation implies knowledge. Knowledge implies responsibility. Each implication raised the same question. Why did accountability stop where it did? Some names were publicly acknowledged as associates. Others denied involvement. According to statements, association did not equate to participation. This distinction became central to legal defense and public debate. Without trials, distinctions remained theoretical. Evidence remained untested. The legal system, by design, requires thresholds: probable cause, admissible evidence, willing witnesses. According to prosecutors, meeting these thresholds years after events is difficult. Memories fade. Records disappear. Jurisdiction shifts. Yet critics argue that these difficulties were foreseeable and avoidable had earlier action been taken. In retrospect, timelines reveal missed opportunities. Early complaints coincided with periods of documented activity. According to records, investigations paused during critical years. Decisions not to pursue charges were justified as pragmatic. Their consequences became clear only later. The enduring legacy of the Epstein files is not a list of names. It is a demonstration of how systems respond under pressure from wealth, influence, and complexity. According to observers, the case exposed vulnerabilities not in law itself, but in its application. As documents continue to surface, their impact diminishes. Without mechanisms for accountability, revelation becomes repetition. Names appear, disappear, reappear. Daylight never fully arrives. The files remain open, not legally, but historically. What persists is uncertainty. According to records, many questions remain unanswered, not because evidence is absent, but because pathways to resolution were closed. The silence surrounding certain names is not empty. It is structured, reinforced, and maintained. In the end, the story is less about individuals than about absence. The absence of trials, the absence of verdicts, the absence of clarity. According to historians, future analysis will likely focus on this absence as the defining feature. The Epstein files continue to exist, not as conclusions, but as artifacts of an incomplete reckoning. Names remain in shadows, not proven, not disproven, simply untouched. And until mechanisms change, daylight remains elusive, filtered through layers of power, delay, and silence.